Hi, I'm Dave March, and this is...
Should we start again?
Yeah.
Don Tillman.
Yep. And we're the Land of Confusion video show for Ricochet members. And here we are talking to our first guest, RUSHBABE49, correct?
RUSHBABE49.
RUSHBABE, sorry. I don't know. I had an Aunt Ruth. That's what I'm probably thinking of. So, so we're kind of informally here. We're still trying to figure out the show. I mean, we only had like 3 views from the post. I think I'm better off posting on Mondays than Fridays because I find any fresh post going on a Friday almost certainly dies. And certainly Saturday and Sunday are the worst days to post to Ricochet. Well, at least in my experience. I've had great posts I thought were going to be on the main feed, go on, I write them on a Saturday, never hear from again. Other stuff that I just get mad and throw Simpsons picture on and suddenly I'm on the main feed on a Wednesday. So have a few questions for you. Why did you become a conservative?
Good question.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, it's not why, it's how. After the 2000 election, I mean, I was kind of I wasn't anything. I didn't really do anything political or anything before that. I remember standing in my kitchen, listening to Dick Cheney's acceptance speech after the 2000 election. And I agreed with most of what he said. I said, all right, maybe I'm conservative. And I think over the years, I've gotten more conservative. Mm-hmm. My husband introduced me to Rush Limbaugh. And I actually got a chance to talk to him in 2005. I called it his show and talked to him. Mm-hmm. And he speaks the truth and everything that I basically now believe, and I've just changed my entire outlook.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Is there anything significant about your outlook change that you can really say?
Just the emphasis on individual liberty, I think.
Something we could all have more of during this time when we're being told for the good of our health, we have to hide away and not do anything. Yeah,
well, I haven't been observing that from the very beginning. I work in an essential industry, and the only days of work I've missed were the 2 weeks when the plant was hard closed. Aside from that, I go to work every day.
Yeah, I come from the land of essential industry, and if I were still working right now in those industries, I'm sure I would be I'd be working from home. The technology here allows us to do a lot of stuff that when continually getting 40% of the economy going, just working from home. I'm kind of torn on that because I was thinking of trying to start encouraging people to educate people to start working from home as almost like a part-time job or become a lobbyist, I don't know. And in order to cut down on fuel, my main goal was a selfish one, and it usually is that I wanted to get more cars off the road. And I got tired of 1.5 hour commutes for jobs, and I'm like, there's this job that I'm doing this 2.5 hour both-way commute I could do from home almost all the time. And you only need me once a day for training or meetings or to yell at me or whatever. There's no reason for me to be here. And now I'm in a different position. So.
Yeah, well, I have a job where I pretty much have to be on site every day. I have physical things that I have to do, stuff that I have to transport here and there in the company. I've been doing on-site stuff for the rest of the people in my department, most of whom are working from home 3 or 4 days a week or the entire time. So I like coming to work. It's easy for me because I live 15 minutes away.
Oh yeah, that's always great.
4.5 miles away, so it's no commute.
Don, do you have a question for Ruth? Rush, sorry.
Sure. What is it you do?
I'm a buyer for an aerospace company.
Ah,
Buyer, as in, I guess, parts, components,
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
yeah, I buy components that go into our product. Specifically, I buy circuit card assemblies.
Oh, I love that stuff. Okay.
Yeah, we do a lot of flex material. So this is my 12 and a half year. And
Right.
so I'm learning something every day. And I have an EE who's my good buddy, and he teaches me about what he does and
Oh, great.
what parts to use on what CCAs and whatever.
I have an electrical engineering background and software engineering both, and
Cool.
and music. So pull all these things together like that.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so actually, that's an interesting point. There was one of the Carol Roth podcast recently. We had a fellow on manufacturing and the idea of bringing the manufacturing back to this country.
Mhm.
And as an electrical engineer myself, I think that's wonderful. I think it's just wonderful. We've moved a lot of our manufacturing off to China for a long time, and there's no reason for that. I mean, there's more automation, more robots, more machines that build machines, and robots in China are not significantly cheaper than robots here. So there's no real reason anymore to do that.
Yeah.
And so I think what we'll see is we're going to see a renaissance of manufacturing here.
yeah, I
never
agree.
left.
There is the virus has shown us just how truly dependent we became on them for critical goods, and all those of us who had been warning for decades that this would be a problem, and we're told no, it's no problem. The Chinese communists can be our friends, and they'll just
it depends on the market too. It depends on the market too, because some markets are crazy price sensitive.
Yeah,
and you have to save the pennies every little place. Other markets, so consumer markets are like that, right?
Mhm.
The more industrial markets, like perhaps, more industrial markets, you don't care as much, and you care more about reliability, deliverables, and so forth.
And you care about quality.
Oh yeah.
So we have both commercial and government customers. Most places in aerospace will not let you build in China. My biggest supplier is in actually the San Francisco Bay Area.
Oh, cool.
And they actually have a brand.
I'll open the window and wave.
It's probably a company nobody's ever heard of. So, and I won't tell you their name anyway. But they have a branch in mainland China, and we made absolutely sure that none of our products get built in China. Everything gets built right here in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So our company has been in business since 1937. Started in Seattle in 1937.
I know that Japan has already got a sizable program to order all their manufacturing out of China and bring it back home because of what's been happening. Not just with the virus, but with China's very aggressive expansion. They're like, you know what? We're not going to do anything here. We're going to encourage all these people to come back to Japan or go to a more friendly country.
Yeah.
And
nobody asked me, but I'm not in favor of offshore manufacturing. The minute you have a piece of discrepant product, that shows you why you shouldn't be building offshore. Because you've got the time difference, and you have to figure out, okay, what's wrong with it? What did you do wrong? And then you have to try to bring in new product. It's a pain. But nobody asked me, so.
Oh, well, they do. It's called elections, but if you live in the wrong place, you don't get to make much of a decision, unfortunately. As
Yeah,
I
we live
said,
in the wrong place.
oh, I fully understand. As I was telling Dawn in the last episode, I'm basically in the Nancy Pelosi equivalent district in Canada.
Well, when do you think they're going to open the border, the northern border?
Well, it's still open to goods, but for people, I'm going to say September, October. I had
Oh,
it's, I
there
have
goes
all
our
these
vacation.
I have all these liberal friends who are like, it's great the border's closed, and I'm like, weren't you all just like terrible, telling me I was evil for wanting to limit immigration, and now you're full-heartedly on board with closing down the border? Oh, look, when it was your life on the line, you suddenly decided you cared.
Yeah,
And it's
well,
not if
you guys in California, you've got the issue with they're giving your money to illegal aliens. That's ridiculous.
Yes, it is. Well, everything behind that is, I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. It's crazy. I think the big problem in California is that the Republican Party has sort of given up, and they're non-existent. They're no shows here. I mean, and I can understand that for some, in some places, in some counties and all, I can understand that. If it's a hopeless situation, sure. But I think that's also an incentive to be lazy, right? And oh, we're down 5 points. It's hopeless. We're not even going to try. And we see that a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Republicans in the congressional Republicans in the 80s, more importantly, the 70s. Just like, I don't want to, we can just work with these guys. It'll be all fine.
No, I think they've lost the capacity for shameless self-promotion, or putting forth their policies and telling people why their policies are better.
Yep.
Right. But I think it's worse than that. Here they're really not even showing up. I mean, so my district here, the people who've run just haven't even advertised it. They haven't even set up a website or, I had to do some research to see who was running against our Democratic Congresswoman. It was difficult to find out. So they've just given up. That said, it looks like, several congressional districts in California will be flipping this November. And we had one flip.
There is. I looked into it. There's something called vote harvesting that California is the only state in the entire country that allows. Everywhere else thinks it's really corrupt. But California allows this vote harvesting. And the previously Republicans did not participate in it. And so a bunch of houses, really traditionally very safe seats for Republicans, suddenly flipped in the last election. It's 6. And we were talking about that one, the special election in the last episode. So it was one of those congressional districts that was traditionally Republican, and it was targeted for vote harvesting. And I watched an interview recently with the local chair, and he said, yep, we didn't want to do it, but the Democrats have made us do it. So we're vote harvesting now, and we're doing the exact same thing, and we expect to retake all our districts.
We hope so.
Yeah.
Well, some of those districts are takeable. I mean, there was my article in Ricochet I posted where I did the cost to, I calculated the cost to flip each district, each Democratic district. And,
yeah, that was really interesting.
Oh, great. Yeah. And I think the surprising thing to me about it was that the range was so large. It was like a 600 to 1 range in cost. And, the $600 one, don't do that. Do the $1 one, right?
Yeah.
Get a bunch of those and you win. And so,
yep.
Washington has 100% vote by mail. And King County has already proven that they have no problem with voter fraud.
Right.
I mean, in fact, I think we invented it. Oh, look, there's more ballots.
Get in
in the top of
line.
somebody's block.
Tammany Hall's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And no, there weren't any lawsuits or anything. It just, okay, well, they accepted it and the Democrat won, which is just, it's very ridiculous.
Yeah, my my nephews. Last time I saw them, they were from there, and they're like, "There's a big problem with this state, Washington, where we live." And they showed a map, and it was like, "How come all of this is red, and this one place here is blue, but that one place, blue place, gets to determine the entire state?"
That's where the population is.
Yep.
Yeah. Seattle runs the state, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they've got a good point. I mean, you know, it's done by people, not by acres, right?
Yep, that's true.
So they have a good point.
So
California has, it's been mail-in. I think it's going completely mail-in. I don't remember. It's been, it was, the last election was, I think, yeah, it was sort of mostly mail-in. Everybody received a ballot in the mail, and you had to bring, if you wanted to vote in person, you had to bring that ballot you received in the mail in. It's the only way it would be taken, or you more typically just mail it in. So it's mostly mail-in, and that may be the same in November, I'm not sure. California also has this thing where they call it the jungle primary, I think, which the top two winners face off regardless of party.
So do we.
And so, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You'll have two Democrats.
Constitutional.
And so, so many of these, like for senator or something like that. So for many of these elections, you have a choice between two Democrats. And again, that's partially our fault too. Last Senate election, Republicans split the vote like the primary vote like 3 or 4 ways. And if they had just agreed beforehand, it just, you know.
Well, the solution there is to
do it, and it could have won, but no.
Is to do away with the primary and do a party vote system like we do in Canada. The idea that any person can walk in and claim to be a member without paying $1 is anathema to me. You want to be a member of the Conservative Party of Canada, you better adopt our ideas, and you're paying your membership fee, and then you get to vote. We're not going to let you just walk in off the street without like even giving us $20. But also it gives us the ability to, we'll have our little, like we have our runoff election, and actually it's the Libertarian Party does the same thing still in the United States, and you'll get, in my view, more control of your party. You shouldn't allow 500,000 people just decide who's going to be the guy. It should be the guys in the smoking back rooms with some organization and trying to go out there and get membership sold and that kind of thing. You get, in my view, a bit better. At least you get some people who have some party ideology, and you don't get like the Democrats choosing the worst possible choice to run against them. There's just, call me crazy, but primary seems to be a giant failure.
Yeah, that's true. So I mean, we got to get smarter, you know.
Yep. Well, you are the champions of democracy. You get to experiment with it, but the problem is with a lot of experimentation, you don't you keep doing the same thing with it instead of like saying, "Oh, I guess that experiment failed. Let's not do that anymore."
Yeah. No. Things just go on as they are unless somebody objects.
So I think
we object.
Yeah. So my other thought for you, Rush Babe, is you have a blog that I was checking out a little bit beforehand. When did you start that?
2010, the first part of 2010. And I've been keeping it up fairly regularly. It's a WordPress blog. I discovered that I had ideas and I wanted to get them out there in public. Only about 40% of what I post on that blog is political. And when I got my blog at first, the people at WordPress used to run a weekly photo challenge, and they would post a topic, and then WordPress bloggers would post photographs about that topic. And it turned out that I had a really lot of fun with that. And I'd go out with my camera and try to take good pictures and post. And it turns out that I got a fair number of professional photographers who follow my blog. And so there's a fair amount of photography. I do some travelogues when I go on vacation. I post my photos. We went to Hawaii and to Alaska on cruises with Hillsdale College. And so I did big posts on that. So it's just fun. And when I see things that make me angry, I put something up on my blog.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm always accepting new followers.
Okay, excellent. More than we have right now.
And that URL, ladies and gentlemen, is
RUSHBABE49.com.
Thank you.
Easy.
Thank you.
The actual name of the blog is Calling All Rush Babes.
Okay.
I was actually looking for women who thought they were Rush Babes, people, women who are in favor of or fans of Rush Limbaugh.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
I'm a big fan.
So why don't we, we're still experimenting with formula, but I'm going to suggest that we kind of spend a little time looking at talking about some of the stuff that's happening on the website, since this is, the intent is here to support the membership. And like, one of the reasons I wanted to start this is because I kept saying someone from the podcast community should be interviewing Ricochet members, because we have a lot of interesting people with a lot of interesting thoughts. And we did get some ideas, but unfortunately, he can't remember, his name's escaping me right now, but he lost his job and he just couldn't do it anymore. So we're doing it. So I was hoping to talk a little bit about stuff that's going on the site today. One thing though, this is not from the site, but I was watching this right before everyone showed up, and it is partly from Whiskey Politics, Dave Sussman there, and he's been talking. It turns out there has been a little bit of a revolt in Illinois, and they are going to open up their state in 2 weeks.
Oh, we hope so.
Yeah, no, there was apparently like an attempt on Friday night to push through like an extension of the lockdown, and there was just a flurry of the phone calls and all that other stuff. And turns out they could get it does help to call your assemblyman and yell at him. They got together and we decided to reopen the state, and no special regulatory rules, nothing. It's just like all businesses get to open May 29th.
Oh, so it's cold turkey. It's
a cold turkey turn. It's like they're like, you know what? We're just the emergency order ends on the 29th, and we're refusing to pass anything until that happens. So like, holy crap! Like we're doing phase startup, roll up here in Ontario. My girlfriend lives in New Brunswick, and she's at phase 3. And they have, of course, they're like many of her. They're like South Dakota though. Like they never really experienced the thing.
Yeah, so, no population there.
Yeah, no population there. So she's got very lucky. She's got like, she was going a little crazy, not being able to do anything. And then suddenly all the stores were open again. So worked out okay for her. But it does look like a lot of business. They don't think 40 or 50% of businesses and small businesses in Illinois will reopen.
Yeah. And they don't think, okay, if you extend your shutdown, what does that do to your tax base? How is the state going to operate if its people aren't making money and paying taxes? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, we'll ask the feds for it.
Yeah.
Or we'll have the federal government. Okay, so you're going to make South Dakota pay for Washington. Why do I think the South Dakotans won't like that very much?
No, that's a similar situation going on in Europe right now. Is that all the southern countries want to get bailouts, and the Germans and the Dutch and other responsible countries, and well, responsible it's Germany, but are like, no, we're not giving you any more of our money. So we'll see how that plays out in overseas. But yeah, no, I very much doubt a statewide bill, state by state bill out is going to be passed under President Trump's pen.
I hope not.
But I think they're all trying to extend this as long as possible just to make Trump look bad. And they can do it.
I think.
And they can do it in the sense, and morally claim they're saving lives, even though they're not.
But we'll see they'll also have the fact that you have states that are going to be like Florida. I was reading an article off of National Review on Florida. It looks like DeSantis did the best job of any governor. Bar none. Because he said, I looked at all the states that were doing the best job fighting this, and we had concentrated our resources by basically putting real effective quarantines on nursing homes and retirement communities and doing daily check-ins. And when the hospitals would try to send people back to their nursing homes, because that was the bureaucratic model for Medicare payments, is that the hospitals were always trying to get people out. They were like, no, you got to keep, if you can't have these people going back in like Typhoid Mary and back into the nursing homes. You either keep them there, or the state will find places to put them where we can keep them under quarantine. And that is probably why Florida, despite this huge snowbird community, they say they have 345,000 elderly old folks living there, has only had 2,000 dead, versus New York, where Andrew Cuomo was out there preening himself every day on TV instead of actually keeping an eye on the people who were dying at 10 times the rate.
Yeah.
Well, and he was putting by law, he was placing elderly people who were infected back into the nursing home system.
Exactly.
And I was just reading an article just now that the governor of Minnesota is doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, so kill off your elderly.
Yeah.
And I would think that the relatives of those people would be just revolting.
I think we'll be seeing a lot of lawsuits against state governors.
Well, I hope so.
And I wouldn't be surprised if a few county officials try to slap some murder charges on them.
Well, that would work, assuming you have Republicans to do that.
Yep.
Democrats wouldn't do that.
Yep.
I wouldn't think. But I don't know, maybe they will. Maybe this will give people a new viewpoint.
Yep. It's just like gross incompetence on such a level. Like it gets to me. So that's a depressing note. But what is it? What's on the page today? We have Stad claiming with his joke here, Biden picks Caitlyn Jenner.
We do have sense of humor on Ricochet, you'll have to admit.
Oh, yeah. A good, was it, looking for something. We have a certain post from a RUSHBABE49. I think the time for open defiance might be approaching. You want to talk about that?
All right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was just reading the news on our local website, and it was showing the quotations from the governors who are saying, we are going to be in lockdown indefinitely. Excuse me? Do you really want to do that? Well, they don't bear the consequences.
Right.
They're not letting their hair grow because they can't get a haircut.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're always looking very clean shaven, and they're not encountering the same situation as their subjects. They're treating their people like subjects. And it's ridiculous. So I said, okay, maybe it's time for the revolution.
Yep.
And the title of originally was Rebellion and not Defiance. And the editors kind of edited it out.
Yep.
Well, here's a question. What is the constitutionality of this? Is a lockdown actually constitutional? I don't know. Not an area I have a lot of expertise in. But you know, could something be done at a Supreme Court level about this? I don't know.
I know that there's definitely a bunch of lawsuits going out up there, but of course these things all take time. But yeah, it does seem to indicate that to me that these guys have some broad-based authority in times of emergency, but it's also a matter of like they have to like Whitmer seems to be ruling by decree right now, even though her state legislature has told her no. Now they're trying to sue it. I'm like, no, I'm sure there must be impeachment rules for governors, I would think. Why don't you do that? Make her go through a trial where she has to explain before a court of people, of like state representatives, why her things are. And then you could really nail this thing out, because you would have people in the in those state houses saying, okay, where's your evidence that any of this is working? And bringing in witnesses and back and forth, even if you're doing it over Zoom, it would just make great TV.
But whether it works or not is not a legal issue, right? That's just, you know,
it's whether you have the
chosen metric, right? Yeah. I'm asking about it as like a constitutional issue.
Yeah.
Is this lockdown actually constitutional? And I don't see that it is, but you know, you need a Professor Kingsfield or something to, you know,
well, you need someone with standing to do an actual lawsuit. And it's been done. It happened in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Their Supreme Court rejected the governor's lockdowns, and the same thing in Oregon.
Yep.
You know, Governor Brown's edicts were ruled null and void.
Yep.
So, wow, this is Oregon. They're even bluer than Washington.
Yep.
They're the home of Antifa.
Hometown boys makes good.
So you just have to have somebody with standing to bring the suit. And I don't know, I don't think it's constitutional.
Well, the good news is that I guess that's the thing, because it's all being done at the state level, these shutdowns. It can't really go to the Supreme Court. I'm not an American. I'm not very familiar with all of this, mainly watching TV and movies and sometimes talking to people. But it does seem to be, it will have to be going through the state Supreme Court, since the president the only way I think he could do it is to declare nationwide martial law. And that's not what he chose to do.
Really unlikely.
No, that's not going to happen. But
yeah, I'm not saying that
Supreme
would be, he would have to do. He chose not to do that, and good for him. This is definitely not that kind of level. Like, there's no anarchy in the streets. We're not seeing Detroit-style riots from the 70s where troops have to be sent in. Like, we're not watching the Black Day in July. But there is, so in the end, I guess it's not really a U.S. Supreme Court. It's just going to go to the state Supreme Courts, and it will be based on each state's Emergency Act legislation.
I think that'll happen.
Yep. So we've already seen 2 states, and like you said, the bluest state. So it seems to be the constitutionality is pretty thin. And when you get when it's before a judge versus a doctor, it seems we're seeing more the judges seem to be siding with people, saying, oh, this is really crazy, you can't do all this stuff. It's not like there's not 100,000 people dead in each state.
Yeah,
your state might have 100, 140. Like, I was complaining about my post about my ex-girlfriend freaking out. It's like, your state has 140 dead people. It's a terrible tragedy, but it's not. You and your husband are kickboxers in your 30s. Don't think that you're at risk here. You guys are Democrats. You keep saying look at the science. I'm looking at the science, and they're telling me you're fine.
They're just say that. They don't mean it.
Well, I'm in a high-risk group, and I choose to take my risks with my life. And I don't know, for some strange reason, I'm firmly convinced that I'm not going to get sick. You know, I've been going out in the world. I went to the grocery store on the way home from work today, and I go to work every day in my factory, and I haven't had as much as a sniffle.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So you were I believe in one of your posts, you described the situation with your local Safeway or grocery store, and it sounds like something out of a dystopian nightmare or something. Like,
Well, there's a lot of people wearing masks,
mm-hmm,
and I said, I'm not going to do that.
mm-hmm,
Although we do live about 6 blocks from the local Costco,
mm-hmm,
and they're requiring all shoppers to wear a mask.
mm-hmm,
So this Monday was the very first time I'd ever put on a mask, because I had to go to get my prescription. I get all my medicine at Costco. And it was no fun. I discovered, much to my chagrin, that not only does the mask prevent you from breathing normally, it also prevents you from seeing normally.
mm-hmm.
When you're looking down to sign something, the mask is in the way.
Mm.
So I'm just wondering this afternoon, how do surgeons who have to wear those all the time see what they're doing?
Mm-hmm.
And if you wear glasses, they fog up.
That's what I understand.
Well, one of the ways to get around it for a lot of surgeons these days is they're doing what we're doing in Ontario, and I've seen it, and I don't mind it as much as I watch the mask. The mask looks silly. I have a friend who's a nurse, and she's like, look, for the 1 hour you are out and about, you are wasting your time with a mask. Like, it's great if you're stuck in a grocery store all day and you need to, sure, your 8 hours of being around people, okay. But you just walking down the street, walking your dog, you're just being ridiculous. And anyone who's telling you otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about. And then she goes on, and then she said, the problem with masks is that you need training to actually use it and know how to do it. Do you think most of the people who are making their self-made masks know that they need to wash it every time they use it? And not wash it with like soap and water? No, they need to put it through the washer and the dryer cycle after every day or every 2 days at most. I don't think anyone knows that these things. I mentioned that one place, and someone said, well, you can look this all up on YouTube if you need to. I'm like, yeah, but most people don't think like that yet.
Which is true, they don't.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in the grocery store, and I saw 3 guys with masks and full beards. And everything I read seems to indicate mask on beards don't do diddly for you. And then
we have a couple of people in our department who have beards, and they wear their mask, and it just thanks for reminding me. I gotta take a picture of our QE
have
guy.
you seen the picture of my prime minister today?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you seen the picture of Justin Trudeau today?
I have not.
He's the man. I actually appreciated when he grew it out. It makes him look more authoritative. He has a beard now that goes all over. And today he held his press conference with a mask on, a cloth mask across his face. He looked like an Arab terrorist. And it's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Like, you are surrounded by all these people who should know not to do that. And the best part, or the worst part, and it's something I have seen people doing around here, and I think it's where it's going to go in Ontario, is when it's not going to be cloth masks. It's going to be more of these face visors. You can see people's faces. They're 2 inches away from your face, and all you have to do to clean them is to dip them in soap and water, or hit them with Windex. And you can, I've seen them at the local beer stores and other places. They're slowly being rolled out. And I think that's the way to go for future, whenever there's like a hot zone or anything like that. And I would wear one of them, not like a mask. And why didn't the prime minister wear that? It would have been so much better.
And so he goes around looking like a welder all day.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like clear plexiglass, and doctors are wearing them too. So I asked the girl at the LCBO, which is like, we have a provincial monopoly on alcohol here. And so I said to her, isn't that way better? And she's like, oh yeah, that's what they tell us. And I don't have to wear a goofy mask all the time. So what other things are on the site we can talk about here? Someone named the Hammer, or on the virus and the rule of law. Just talking about, this is something I've also, it's like, some of the stuff that's coming down from cops giving $800 tickets to people walking their dogs in parks, and just everyone using the chance to like spy on their neighbors and that. And we're just seeing all this like capricious use of tickets and the Raj culture that the Raj regimes, I've heard it called in India, like just, sorry, permit Raj, that's the word I was looking for. But it's just like, we're just seeing people turning on each other pretty rapidly around here. Like, to me, if you, with cops being arbitrarily capricious, like my girlfriend, back when there was a lockdown in New Brunswick, she wanted to go drive down to Moncton, which was like a 40-minute drive from her small town, to go to like a Walmart and get some essential supplies. And she calls the cops up and says, so can I get a drive down to Moncton without getting a ticket? And they're saying like, it'll be all up to the individual officer if he pulls you over. And she's like, what? I'm like,
well, one of the things they did here in the state of Washington, just north of us is the Skagit Valley, and the entire month of April is normally the Skagit Valley Tulip Festival. So this year they canceled the Tulip Festival. And we have around here in the Skagit Valley, the second largest producers of tulips and tulip bulbs outside of the Netherlands. And that put a lot of farmers in very bad shape. So not only did they cancel the Tulip Festival, they turned off the tulip cams. So some of the big companies there have webcams that are trained on the tulip fields. And so if you can't get there, or if you want to know if the tulips are blooming today and you want to take a drive up there, you just access the tulip cams. Well, in order to make everybody feel the absolute worst they could, they turned off the tulip cams. So the first week in April, I told my husband, I am going to take a drive up to the Skagit. I'm going to break the lockdown, and I'm going to go up there and see where the tulips are what the tulips are doing. So I did. I got in my car and I drove up Interstate 5. It's only about a 45-minute drive from here, from our house. And I drove around the tulip fields, no traffic. Normally it's wall-to-wall traffic when the Tulip Festival is going on. And it turned out it was a little early. Most of the tulips were not in bloom yet. But all of the big farms that normally host, people can like actually walk in the fields, they were all closed. And it was really depressing.
It just seems so many people are miserable, and they decided that the best thing they can do is make everyone else miserable.
Yeah, a lot of people have been just told that you now have to be afraid of your neighbors. You have to be afraid to walk outside. And that's not how you want your population, I don't think. So we're just refusing to be afraid.
Yeah. One thing for me is that I have a friend of mine. She's a single mother. She's got a 6-year-old son. He's terrified to leave his house now. He can't, because the virus could get him. It's like, we know little kids are the least likely to get it.
Right.
We're not going to, we have all these children who are going to grow up in total fear. And this, in my view, this is real child abuse, that what we're doing with these kids. And like, one thing that they did do in New Brunswick, which I thought, and I heard, I was like, that sounds great. Why aren't we doing that here? Is that they allowed families to share quarantine together. So you could make a deal with another family, with even if it's just another single mom with one kid. The two of you can share time together. You'd be a shared quarantine family. So one mother could at least let the two kids play while the other one went and got groceries. Or at least have all these families to get together. So you could at least have one quarantine, like one kid would be with another quarantine kid, and they could just share this together. And it just seems to me so logical. Like, you really think that such a program is going to kill millions of people, especially when it became very apparent early on that we were not going to lose all these people. And now we're going to have the good news is kids are resilient. I think a majority are going to bounce back from this and not remember all this terrible stuff. But right now, it's like you're just having little kids growing up in fear of everything. And then we had the article from Bethany about, I think it was about the new CDC guidelines for children. Like, what?
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Like,
well, it's all consistent, right? With power hungry being, the incentive of being power hungry over everything else, and that's going to win. I mean, people in the political realm are power hungry. That's how they. It's their metric of success. That's how they get ahead. That's how they, that's how they enjoy it. So that's going to be a problem, and we're stuck with that unless we have some way to fight back. It's going to creep that way every time, right? Because we've seen this behavior before, and a lot of history. So yeah, it's one way or another. We got to beat it back. And like I said, I think there's a constitutional problem there. But there may be other ways, there's uprisings, demonstrations, and so forth. But I mean, this is pretty bad. We gotta find some way to make this hurt.
Yep.
Yeah, you have to have enough people who are willing to break the lockdown all at the same time and dare the state to shut down every business. I mean, we have a barber here in Snohomish County, which is just a little east of our town, who has had his barbershop open for a week. So the news today says that he has been given the final order to close down his business, or his license will be jerked and he will be arrested and thrown in jail. And he said, come and get me. I'm not closing.
Good.
And so they're going to arrest his customers and arrest him.
Well, the thing to do is to get a lot of people to show up for that when they show up to arrest.
Yeah.
And my suggestion is passive resistance first. But if you get sort of like, you're going to arrest him, we're all customers. Now arrest all 100 of us.
Yeah, there's a possibility you might get that many.
Yep.
I know that the lines at his shop were around the block.
Yep. And you know what? There's that should be an image right there that should be going out. The line around the block of all these people who want to break the law. Other thing would be to, like, I don't know how many people know the cops in these areas, but naming and shaming is always something that could be doing. It's like, look.
Well, there's a subtle issue here, I think, because, say, the police force that would have to implement this are generally on the side of the people. So it's more the political base that's responsible, and you got to make them look bad.
Yeah, well, there's one thing that happened in my hometown in Hamilton a few months ago. There was a bit of a ruckus with the Pride parade, and like different politicians were trying to exploit it, and there was a tension. So all the Pride people went down to the mayor's house, and they protested for a day in front of his house. And so I don't know where the mayor of this county is, or this town who's ordering this lockdown is, but start with your get 1,000 people to drive around his house for a day and not let him go anywhere, or go protest against the city councilors who are going along with this, and then go and escalate it up. Like when the city councilors can't go, it's like, or find out where they stand on these things. And then if they're not going to be community leaders, then maybe you need to get new community leaders.
Yeah, there was also a thing in Sacramento, a demonstration in Sacramento, I think it was last week or the week before. That was a really big deal. Oh, I think some Ricochet member covered it. Have to look that one up. But yeah, it was very successful. It was a series of them, I think. They were very successful. They made a really good point. And at
Well,
one point, they were able to get the police to turn back. I have to look it up. I don't have it here. Yeah, it's a really good story.
okay. Well, we're getting like running into an hour here, but I just want to have one last question for our great guest here. How did you find Ricochet?
That's easy. That's an easy question to answer.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking one of the Hillsdale College online courses in Western civilization, and one of the Hillsdale professors was Paul Ray, and I was actually reading his bio, and the bio said that he posts on Ricochet.com, and so I said, okay, I've never heard of Ricochet before, and I visited the site. And after scrolling down the main feed for about 5 minutes, I got up from my chair and I went out the door and I leaned over the banister and I said, Ray, I found a site we really have to join. Come and see this. And so we did. We joined the same day. It was in December of 2012. And so we both have our own separate memberships. And that was one of the best things that ever happened to us. So this was December of 2012. In May of 2013, I organized my first meetup in Seattle around a Hillsdale College National Leadership Seminar. And it was awesome. We had like 20 people. And one of them was a Hillsdale faculty who happened to be in town for the leadership seminar. And we had a bunch of Ricochet members. And everybody just had an absolutely wonderful time. It was just great.
Sounds great. Well,
You should have led with this.
yeah, I know. Well, I've been meaning. I'm going to. We'll standardize the format eventually one of these days, and I'll try and get like 5 questions I'll ask everyone during the course of the show. But I believe this has been great. Tell all your friends.
Oh yeah.
And I'll try and get this up tomorrow just by everything, and I'll have everyone can see our little Land of Confusion intro, and hopefully people will start to see this as we get more and more guests and we try to do more stuff. Is there anyone you would like to see on we interview?
Who would I want to meet? Oh yeah. Try interviewing Percival.
Oh, okay. I'll send them a message.
I think that would be very cool. I'd come online for that.
Okay, great.
But I'm really glad to have met both of you guys.
And I'm glad to meet you.
Same here.
All right, and we'll hope to meet you in person someday.
Yep.
When
Okay.
they let us out of our lockdown.
Yes. Okay. Well, this has been the Land of Confusion video podcast thing that we're doing for Ricochet. Come and watch us and have fun. Thanks. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.